A young couple named Daniel and Marissa owned a small 24-hour laundromat on the edge of town. Every night before closing, they would leave their golden retriever, Benny, inside the building to guard the place until morning. Benny loved the laundromat. He would usually sleep behind the counter or wander between the rows of machines during the night. But one morning, when Daniel unlocked the front door, something felt wrong immediately. The lights were still on. Several washing machines were running even though they had shut everything off the night before, and Benny was nowhere to be seen. Daniel called out for him, expecting the dog to come running like always. Instead, he heard soft whining coming from the storage room in the back. When he opened the door, Benny was curled tightly beneath a metal shelf, trembling violently. The dog refused to come out. His ears were pinned back, and he kept staring toward the hallway leading to the security office. Marissa noticed scratches along the floor near the office door, as if something heavy had been dragged across the tiles during the night. Concerned, they immediately pulled up the security footage. At first, everything looked normal. The laundromat sat empty for hours, while Benny wandered calmly between the aisles. Then, around 2:13 a.m., Benny suddenly stopped walking. The dog slowly turned toward the reflection in one of the dryer doors. Someone appeared to be standing behind him, but when Benny spun around, there was nobody there. For several seconds, Benny stared into the empty hallway. Then suddenly, the dog was violently thrown sideways across the floor. The force looked unnatural, almost as if an invisible person had kicked him hard in the ribs. Benny yelped loudly and scrambled backward, slipping on the tile as he ran toward the storage room. But the footage became even stranger. One of the dryers slowly opened by itself. A few seconds later, another one opened. Then another. Soon, every dryer door in the laundromat hung open at the exact same angle. Daniel paused the footage. Standing in the reflection of the final dryer door was a tall, dark figure. It appeared impossibly thin, its arms stretched almost to the floor, and its face looked completely smooth. No eyes. No mouth. No nose. Just pale skin. The figure vanished the moment the camera glitched. Daniel and Marissa immediately contacted the police, but officers found no signs of forced entry. They assumed someone had broken in during the night and tampered with the machines, but that explanation didn't make sense to Daniel, because the laundromat's alarm system had never gone off, and there was something else. When Daniel checked Benny's color camera, he discovered footage from inside the storage room after the dog had run and hidden. The tiny camera captured Benny shaking beneath the shelf while staring toward the doorway. Then, footsteps echoed slowly through the hallway. Outside. Heavy footsteps. Wet footsteps, like someone walking barefoot across soaked concrete, but nobody appeared. The footsteps stopped directly outside the room. Then a voice whispered softly from the darkness, "Found you." The video ended immediately afterward. Daniel deleted the footage later that day and refused to talk about it again, but Benny never entered the laundromat after sunset ever again. Across town, a college student named Rachel had recently moved into a cheap apartment building near the highway. The building was old and poorly maintained, but it was the only place she could afford. Almost immediately after moving in, Rachel began hearing strange noises at night. Soft knocking sounds inside the walls, whispering in the vents. And footsteps pacing slowly above her ceiling. Around 3 a.m. At first, she assumed the sounds came from neighbors. But according to the landlord, the apartment directly above hers had been vacant for over 6 years. Rachel tried to ignore it until one night, when she woke up to the sound of children laughing in the hallway. Half asleep, she opened her front door to complain. The hallway was empty, but apartment 304, the supposedly abandoned unit upstairs, was slightly open. Rachel stared at the dark doorway for several seconds. Then she heard something moving inside, a soft dragging sound. Like furniture being pulled across the floor. She immediately ran back into her apartment and locked the door. The next morning, Rachel decided to check the building's hallway security cameras. At exactly 3:07 a.m., the footage showed apartment 304 slowly creaking open by itself. No one entered. No one exited. But a few moments later, small shadows began appearing inside the doorway. Tiny silhouettes moving back and forth in the darkness. They looked like children. Rachel showed the footage to her landlord, who reluctantly agreed to inspect the apartment with maintenance workers. The moment they opened the door, a terrible smell poured into the hallway. The apartment was completely empty. No furniture. No electricity. No running water. But scattered throughout the floor were dozens of children's toys, old dolls, stuffed animals. Tiny shoes. And every wall had strange drawings scratched into the paint. Pictures of tall people with hollow faces. One maintenance worker suddenly froze near the bedroom closet. Inside the closet, someone had written the same sentence repeatedly across the walls. Don't let them hear you. Rachel moved out 3 days later, but before leaving, she reviewed the hallway footage one last time. And this time, she noticed something she hadn't seen before. Every night at exactly 3:07 a.m., a figure could briefly be seen, standing at the far end of the hallway, watching apartment 304. The figure never moved, never blinked. And appeared to be missing its entire lower jaw. Late one stormy night, a truck driver named Miguel was traveling through a remote mountain road deep in northern Arizona. Rain hammered the windshield so hard he could barely see. The road twisted endlessly through dense forest with no signs of civilization nearby. Miguel turned on his interior cab light for a moment while searching for his phone charger. That's when he noticed something in the rearview mirror. Someone was sitting in the back seat. Miguel nearly swerved off the road. He spun around instantly. The seat was empty. His heart pounded as he pulled the truck onto the shoulder, thinking exhaustion was causing hallucinations. Miguel splashed water on his face and continued driving. Hours later, while stopped at a gas station, he reviewed his dashcam footage. At 1:42 a.m., during the exact moment he had looked into the mirror, the camera clearly captured a figure sitting behind him. The figure appeared soaking wet Its skin looked gray, its eyes were completely black, and its mouth hung unnaturally wide open. But the worst part came seconds later. As Miguel stared at the road ahead, the figure slowly leaned forward until its face hovered inches behind his head. Then it smiled. The dashcam audio recorded a faint whisper. "You didn't stop for me." Miguel later remembered passing what looked like a person standing beside the road earlier that night, but he hadn't stopped. Because of the storm. The following morning, police informed him that a woman had died on that same road 2 nights earlier after being hit by a truck during heavy rain. Her body was never found. A woman named Emily regularly posted videos online documenting renovations inside her newly purchased farmhouse. The house sat isolated several miles away from the nearest town. Everything seemed normal until viewers noticed strange things appearing in the background of her videos. At first, it was small, a shadow standing in doorways, a pale face reflected in windows. Movement inside rooms Emily claimed were empty. Her audience began warning her in the comments. Emily laughed it off until one night, motion alerts from her indoor security cameras started triggering repeatedly. Every alert came from the upstairs nursery. The room was completely empty because Emily hadn't yet moved furniture into it. When she checked the live camera feed, nothing appeared unusual, but the motion detector kept activating. Finally, Emily reviewed the recorded footage frame by frame. At exactly 2:26 a.m., the rocking chair in the nursery began moving slowly on its own, back and forth, back and forth. Then a woman appeared standing beside the crib. She wore an old white nightgown stained dark around the chest. Her hair completely covered her face. Emily froze the video in horror. Woman appeared for only 3 frames before vanishing. Terrified, Emily contacted the previous owner of the farmhouse. The elderly man became silent after hearing her describe the figure. Then he explained something disturbing. More than 30 years earlier, a young mother had taken her own life inside that nursery after losing her infant during the winter. According to locals, people occasionally reported seeing her walking through the upstairs windows late at night. Emily planned to leave the farmhouse immediately, but before she could, something horrifying happened. One evening, while live streaming to her followers, Emily heard soft singing coming from upstairs. A lullaby. Viewers begged her not to investigate, but Emily grabbed her phone and slowly climbed the staircase. The singing grew louder with every step. When she reached the nursery doorway, the rocking chair was moving violently by itself, and someone was standing in the corner, holding a baby. The figure slowly turned toward Emily. The live stream abruptly ended. Emily never uploaded another video again. A security guard named Trevor worked the night shift inside an abandoned hospital scheduled for demolition. Most of the building had already been cleared out. Entire hallways sat empty and dark. Trevor's job was simply to patrol the property and ensure nobody entered illegally during the night. During his first week, everything remained quiet, but eventually, strange things began happening. lights flickered in rooms disconnected from electricity. Wheelchairs appeared in different hallways each morning. And emergency call buttons randomly activated throughout the night. One evening, Trevor heard a woman crying somewhere on the 4th floor. He searched every room, but found nothing. Yet the crying continued. Soft. Desperate. Almost pleading. Eventually, Trevor followed the sound to room 417. The door stood slightly open. Inside sat an old hospital bed facing the window. Crying stopped the moment Trevor entered. Then he noticed something carved into the wall above the bed. "She still comes at night." Suddenly, the call light beside the bed illuminated. Bright red. Trevor jumped backward. The speaker above the door crackled to life. A weak voice whispered, "Help me." Trevor immediately radioed his supervisor, but nobody answered. Then all the lights on the floor shut off. Simultaneously, the hallway outside became completely black. Trevor heard footsteps approaching slowly through the darkness. Not normal footsteps. These sounded uneven. Dragging. As if someone were limping closer. Trevor locked himself inside room 417 and hid behind the bed. The footsteps stopped directly outside the door. Then something slammed violently against it. Again. The entire frame shook. Trevor later claimed he saw fingers slowly curling underneath the gap beneath the door. Long, pale fingers, stained with dried blood. Eventually, the pounding stopped. When police arrived hours later, they found Trevor sitting catatonic in the corner of the room. He resigned the next morning and refused to ever speak publicly about what happened inside the hospital. Months later, demolition workers discovered patient records hidden behind a wall in room 417. According to the files, a female patient had vanished from that room during the 1980s. Hospital staff claimed she simply disappeared overnight without explanation. Her body was never found. A group of teenagers decided to explore an abandoned church deep in the woods outside their town. Local legends claimed the church had once belonged to a cult decades earlier before mysteriously burning down. Only part of the building still remained standing. Most people avoided the area completely, but the teenagers wanted footage for social media. At first, the exploration seemed harmless. They laughed while recording graffiti and broken pews. Of them joked about ghosts. Another mocked the old warning signs near the property. Entrance. Then they discovered the basement door. Had been chained shut, but someone had recently cut through the chain. Inside the basement, the air smelled rotten. Their flashlights revealed old candles scattered across the floor, and strange symbols painted along the walls. At the far end of the room stood dozens of photographs hanging from wires. Every photograph showed missing people from different years. One teenager suddenly noticed something horrifying. Some of the missing posters looked recent. As they prepared to leave, one of the girls screamed. A tall figure stood at the top of the basement stairs, watching them silently. The figure wore dark robes and appeared unnaturally thin. Nobody could see its face beneath the hood. Teenagers ran instantly. But while fleeing through the church, they realized one member of their group was missing, Tyler. They shouted his name repeatedly, but heard no response. Then, from somewhere deep inside the church, Tyler screamed. The sound cut off. Abruptly, police searched the property for days afterward. They found the teenager's cameras abandoned inside the basement, but Tyler was never found. The final seconds of footage captured before the camera died showed something standing behind the group the entire time they were underground. Something tall, something smiling, something that did not appear human.